Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. It's Emma, and today I have a wonderful guest. In fact, I've watched a lot of his videos for a long time. They inspired me to kind of continue to do my stuff. And we share a lot of the same things, a lot of the same passions, and I truly appreciate that. And today we're going to kind of get really deep into the LGBTQ, some politics and how it's affected with identity politics and more. Welcome to the show, Lady MAGA USA. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Emma, it's such an honor to be here. I'm so grateful that you have the courage to take the time to do a show, to book guests and do all this. I know how, it looks easy, but it's not. And recording things and speaking out and trying to get your message out there and dealing with, of course, the backlash that I'm sure you deal with. I just want you to know how much I admire you for just even speaking out like this. And it's an honor to be here. And I just am so glad to talk to you today.
I'm glad to talk to you too. And you do know exactly what we go through. I mean, I think one of the hardest things for me at one point in time was sitting behind the camera, having nothing scripted out and saying, turning it on and saying, this is my life. This is how I screwed up. This is what I did right. And it's not easy because you got to humble yourself a little bit along the way too, but yet also try to take into consideration that the people that are attacking you do have feelings. They are human beings. They deserve love and respect as much as I do. And so you got to put that line down there, but yet tell your story at the same time. It's not always easy to do.
Yeah. Let me put on my lip gloss. I
You
always
can
do that. It's like my it's my
signature.
lucky whatever. Yeah. So well, signature, it became that because my friend was like, you always say that. I'm like, no, but it's true. Once I put on the lip gloss, it's like the magic begins. I don't know. And I just love lip gloss because
It's
it's
rock
so
and roll.
mm. And I love the smell of makeup. I love that smell.
Mhm.
Anyway, I digress.
All right. So let's kind of give everybody a little brief history of you here. You are a gay male that does drag work as Lady MAGA USA. What does that mean for you?
Well, that is, you know, um, being gay, ideally, I would never even have to tell anybody that I am gay because to me, being gay matters as much as my heterosexual friends' heterosexuality.
Yes.
Their sexuality is not important to me. I don't want to know what they do in their bedroom. I don't want to know any of that because their sexual relationships are private and intimate. It's not a part of our working friendship. And so I don't like identity politics, but I do tell people that I'm gay because we're still in a time where gay people are you still have to tell people that you're gay in order to get your message out, and especially right now make them understand that not all gay people are part of this new wave of LGBTQIA plus alphabet radicalism, which is what it is. So yeah, I'm a gay man. I grew up Mormon. I'm the youngest of 8 children. Grew up in a very anti-gay environment, and so I do know the struggles of being different, of being uh you know um just having the struggles of being different. So I do sympathize with people who are going through feeling different. It's not an easy path always to be a gay person. Um but the drag stuff started actually in 2016. January 1st, 2016, I was hospitalized um, for a suicide attempt. It's been a struggle in my life. Um, I talk about it because I feel like, much like you, um, I have decided to pretty much be an open book and just be very honest with my followers and with people in general, because putting on the smiling face of Lady MAGA and acting like I'm some sort of, emotionless, happy person all the time, just it's not worth it. So I share that because just in case somebody who's listening might be struggling with suicide or anything like that, I just want to say that I'm on the other side of that. And you may think that that's your only option, but you're here for a reason, and don't go there. So in the hospital, they sent me to an outpatient program, and it was the first time I had ever been introduced to this whole pronoun, like it was very new in 2016. And so there were people in there who were like trans or cross-dressing or whatever, and they sort of were encouraging me to believe that I was in fact potentially trans, because I love makeup, I love hair. So I was experimenting, had a little ponytail, like a Sally's clip in or whatever, and wore a little makeup, and I was like, call me her, because they were encouraging that in the LGBTQ outpatient group. And so I was sort of flirting with those ideas. It was all new to me. And I was like, what they were saying was sort of making sense, because yes, I am different. Yes, I love pink. Yes, I love hair. Yes, I love makeup. I love Barbies. So I sort of flirted with that concept for a while. And then I went to a drag show in Boston, Massachusetts, and I saw the drag queen on stage with the fan blowing the wig and sparkling. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I'm not trans, and I'm not comfortable with this narrative that, you know, I'm in the wrong body or whatever. And I have been a stage kid since literally like little kid, first grade on. I was in every single show, production, play, everything. And as an adult, you don't, your opportunities to perform or rehearse or choreograph are so limited. So I found that niche. It saved my life. It wasn't Lady MAGA, obviously. And I created the persona of Rihanna Woods. Rihanna is the name they tormented me with in elementary school. Horrifically, you know, people talk about bullying. I had eggs smashed on my head. I had to get a variance to another school because it was so severe, and the threats and the torment that I endured. So, you know, a lot of people, they consider me very insensitive. They consider me a right-wing racist, you know, anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ radical. But no, I have been there. I know what it's like to struggle. And so I created the persona of Rihanna Woods. I don't know who created my Wikipedia. I'm on Wikipedia, but it says that I was known as the Disney Princess of Boston. And I was, because my drag has always been, not that I'm a fan of Disney now, but my drag has always been very much happy Barbie, Disney, princessy, fun, innocent, so to speak. Like, I don't like the sexual drag. I don't get any sexual gratification whatsoever out of it. So I created that persona and became one of the, you know, mainstream performers in Boston. You know, the famous drag queens would come to town. I'd be in those shows. And then I'll skip ahead to 2019, and I had moved to Utah, back home, and I was in a show called the Viva La Diva show. I was a professional Rapunzel impersonator for their like Disney diva show, and then a Britney Spears impersonator. But I was back in the closet. Now, I came out of the closet as a gay Mormon. God bless the Mormons, love them. But I was back in the closet because every single show, whether it was the Viva La Diva show or nightclubs, they would just, they were constantly bashing Donald Trump, and they were constantly bashing Mormons and white people, and it was just, it was becoming this toxic environment. And I realized I couldn't go back in the closet again and just keep my mouth shut. So that's when I thought, I'm going to join the political arena. How can I do this my way? How can I do this in a fun way? And I was like, Lady MAGA USA. That just came to me. Talked to my brother, and he was like, do it. So I created Lady MAGA USA, and it's been 4 years of Lady MAGA. Rihanna Woods, obviously I lost all of my performing opportunities. I was told that I'm no longer welcome in any LGBTQ space in Utah. I haven't dared, try to go to an open performance night or even to the clubs because I've been surrounded and assaulted here in Utah. And so, it was a huge loss of a community of people that I disagreed with politically, but they were my friends. I helped people through suicide. I hosted birthday parties. I gave people their first, wig and an opportunity to explore drag and become a performer, and they cut me off. So that's kind of my history of drag. I do say that it saved my life. I prefer to call myself a drag artist or a costume artist now because they've tainted and sort of ruined the public perception of drag with Drag Queen Story Hour and the sexualized performances. And then if you watch any mainstream drag show, from RuPaul's Drag Race to any of the popular mainstream famous queens, their content is always vulgar. It's always explicit. So drag queen, I get hate from the right because of what they're doing. So I'm sort of this unicorn stuck between, the creative types and the rebellious types and the cookie cutter suit and tie conservatives who don't believe that I'm a real conservative. So it's the island of misfit toys, I guess, people like you and me, right?
There's nothing wrong with being a misfit toy. And that's what I can't
Right.
understand either, because it's like, I'm conservative myself. I grew up in a very strict German Christian conservative area. And I figured my family would have had lots of problems telling them that I found out the truth. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was put the way that I was. And that's okay. But what I find now, and I think it's really annoying, is that all gay people, all Black people, all Spanish people, all have to be liberal. And you have to adapt to everything that they agree with. And if you don't, you're an Uncle Tom, you're transphobe, you're this, you're that, and everything else. And I don't understand why that has to be. Why do you have to be liberal to be a little different? Why can't you be conservative?
Well, what you're describing is groupthink through intimidation. It comes down to the oldest rule in the book, which is divide, divide and conquer. So the ultimate objective of our puppet masters in the media, in the government, even in corporations, is to make people hate each other and perpetuate a constant divided nation because we're easy to control when we hate each other. You can pit this group against this group, watch them fight about stuff that doesn't matter, and usher in digital chips in our bodies, or usher in smart cities, usher in all the things that really, really do matter, but no one's talking about because we're arguing about racism and the Black Little Mermaid, So yeah, within the LGBTQ movement, you're not allowed to question anything, especially the trans child narrative, which is a horrifying narrative. I have nothing against adult trans people. I don't care. I literally don't care. Live your life. If you want to be, if you were Michael, now you're Michelle, I will call you Michelle, but I won't be legally compelled to call you Michelle or legally recognize you as a biological female, because biological females matter, and a trans identifying person is not is not in alignment with biological realities. They are different. They are trans. So yeah, you're not allowed to question anything. You're not allowed to critique anything, and you're certainly not allowed to support Donald Trump, which I wholeheartedly did, and I still do. And people just believe all the lies about him. They don't know that he is the one and only president in American history to stand up at the United Nations and look into the eyes of barbaric, savage countries that torture and kill people like me and condemn them to their faces, because Donald Trump doesn't care. He's worked with the gays forever. Melania is Melania because of the gays. So, you know, they just believe all the lies in the mainstream media, perpetual attacks on Donald Trump. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for free speech and for conservative people, as long as we allow this intimidation to continue. We're not losing the culture war or any battles because of the radical left or because of the radicalized LGBTQ. We are losing everything because of complacency and silence.
I
The
like that.
the silent majority is more dangerous than any bomb, army, or gun that's out there. The silence is, and that's how, you know, Hitler took over Germany.
Yeah.
People were too afraid to speak out. That's how in the Soviet Union, you know, people just laid low and they didn't want to get involved and they didn't want any controversy. They didn't want to be attacked. And that's why at the beginning of this interview, I said, I have so much respect for you because you're not part of the silent majority.
No.
And people often, you know, say, I can't speak out, can't lose my job, can't lose my friends, all of this stuff. And I 100% understand that. But when do you say enough is enough and defend your children's future? You know?
Yeah. And that's kind of why I did this. I mean, I see a lot of intersex children that are easily transed at the minute of birth because that they don't, and I get it. Some of their parents don't want them to grow up or potentially have a weird complex. And I get that. And I don't think they do it out of spite. I think they do it out of love. But at the same time, you might be making that person the wrong gender, and then they're going to have a complex far worse than having two genitals or whatever it may be. But I have been a proponent now for a long time about the I has no business in the LGBTQIA+. The reason being is it's not a sexual preference. We can still be bisexual, we can still be gay or lesbian, depending on how we come out, but it has zero impact on anything. And I have said this often too now, because people are starting to say, oh, well, you know, at this point in time, you can just wake up and you can mentally be intersex. And that's not true. I have so many health conditions and so many problems that it would blow most people away. And that's because of my condition. And so so when I say that we are only in this name, the symbol name, because of the fact that the transgender, when they lose an argument, oh, well, you know what? I'm intersex. That's the first thing that comes out of people's mouth. And people said that has never happened. I watched Matt Walsh at a local like town hall meeting. And sure enough, he was dealing with a transgender person and said, well, you know, what makes you want to make me call me a woman? He goes, I can't call you a woman because you're not. And then they started going back and forth. And then the transgender person goes, well, you know what? I could very well be intersex and you wouldn't even know. And Matt Walsh said that's a medical condition, not a physical sexual preference. So I love that. And I think I'm getting stuck in this because, and this will be the question, the LGBT is wanting to pull away from the TQIA for good reason. And at the same time, I am being attacked because I'm intersex, simply because of the fact that the way that the trans and the LGBTQ have portrayed me, I'm part of one of the radicals. But most of the people that I know of would never even think about saying stuff like that. So I see a lot of turmoil going on inside because of the politics, because of these things. What do you see happening? What is so toxic in the LGBTQ? And are you pro LGB separating and divorcing from this massive thing?
Absolutely. I remember questioning even why it was LGBT, because, you know, I got a few years under my belt, and I remember when it was gay, gay and lesbian. That is what the movement was about. And the majority of people who fought to stop the criminalization of homosexuality and all of that were gay people, gay men. By the way, primarily white gay men who are villainized within the movement now as cisgender, white privilege, blah, 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 you know. So yes, I don't identify with any community. I am a staunch individualist. I'm a big fan of Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged, and I do believe in individualism. The smallest minority in America is the individual. And so when you give up your power to a so-called community, then you're entering the groupthink arena. Even the MAGA community, the Trump supporters, Republicans, I don't wholeheartedly identify with any community. I always say first, I'm an individual, I'm a free thinker, and I don't run with any groupthink narrative. The reason gays and lesbians, you know, Ariel Scarcella, Buck Angel, all the conservative outspoken people are pulling away from this alphabet label that's thrust on us because we're being erased. No one comes out as gay anymore. They come out as LGBTQ. No one is LGBTQIA plus. No one. So to label yourself with that alphabet is just so nonsensical and ridiculous. But I can explain how this happened and why it happened with two primary concepts. Number one is power. Number two is money. So the gay movement, we all, you know, look at history, 80s, 90s, Will and Grace, Ellen, blah, blah, blah. America gradually overcame the anti-gay sentiments, and gay people were integrated. Nobody cared that Ellen DeGeneres was the voice of Dory in a movie. No one cared that their hairstylist was gay or that their neighbors were lesbians. America was over it. We had achieved the goal of societal inclusion and integration. So the people like the Human Rights Campaign, Pride centers across America, GLAAD, the Democrat Party, they cannot maintain their lucrative endeavors without a strong victim narrative. And when gay people couldn't get married, that was a pretty strong narrative. So they, you know, that was a hot topic. So they got plenty of money and plenty of political power because they looked like the good guys defending people. And in many ways they were. So they basically, let's just picture the powers that be in this movement sitting around a table, and they said to themselves, well, America doesn't care about gays and lesbians. That battle is over, but we still want to maintain power. What is another victim narrative that we can push? And the ultimate victim narrative that they came up with, I'd say starting around 2015, 2016, was the trans children, trans youth narrative. Because one, power. The Democrats look like the good guys. Pride centers look like the good guys. The Human Rights Campaign looks like the good guys in defending trans children, trans youth. We care. And they've weaponized the idea of suicide, you know, saying that if you don't give these surgeries to a child, they will kill themselves. So they came up with that new victim narrative and it worked. You know, your average person hears all about it and they fly their flag in their yard and they think they're being a good person. So that's what gave them power. And then, of course, money is the money that they collect using that victim narrative. And even more sadly, the trans surgery, sorry, my phone's ringing. The trans surgery procedures, it's $1 billion industry. So there's the money. So with any movement, you have to watch who's gaining power and who's gaining money. And in this case, it's just so obvious.
It is. It truly is. And that's kind of a scary point that we've come to this to where, you know, we are being weaponized against each other, and it's literally causing the LGBTQ to crumble. And that is kind of bothersome to me because it shouldn't have ever gotten to this point. But there is one thing that you did say when we were talking kind of to set up this interview, and I think this is really a fun thing, is that what if for some reason we have lost what drag shows are really about. There are a lot of people that do believe that they're very artistic and fun and family friendly. And then you get the other ones that have seen what's been going on in front of like these kids. And that is where they're not being family friendly. I would not go to a show like that, not outside of a club maybe. And so now all of drag has been completely engulfed in this label of being sexualized. And sometimes it can be, sometimes it can't be. But you don't believe in the sexualized version of drag. So tell everybody what the difference is and how can you find it?
Thank you for that question, because that is where I just get caught in the cross. Because of drag queen story, openly, twerking in thongs in front of children and, spreading their legs in a mini skirt and pride parades with, sex toys and everything else. The public perception of drag now on the right is that all drag queens are nothing more than sexual performers, the equivalent of a stripper. And certain groups have gone too far to say no one should ever dress up in public, no drag queen can ever be in a public space, and no families or kids should ever see a drag queen. And it's like, okay, if some fat black guy is impersonating Aretha Franklin with a feather boa, that is family friendly. It's comedy, it's hilarious, it's perfectly fine. So people are not differentiating between performers and theatrical people who are hilarious. Like, look at the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, Some Like It Hot, whatever. It can be funny, it can be entertainment. And my mother, rest in peace, she used to dress up as Jack Sparrow all the time for Halloween, family parties. She loved to dress up as Jack Sparrow. There is no difference between my mother doing that and me doing Lady MAGA USA. Both are tasteful, and both people are playing a character that is the opposite gender. So I will not concede that dressing up is somehow bad or harmful. And nobody would have had a problem with all ages shows if those shows were actually appropriate for the public. The reason they compare all drag artists to strippers and whatnot is because they've crossed the boundaries so many times. Here in Utah, they had a show lined up that was all ages, and on the poster, I won't even repeat actually I will repeat it. The names on the poster, one of them, the drag queen's name was Anna Lee Cage. Anal leakage. That's filthy. That is horrifyingly inappropriate. But that was on a poster. So I called him out. I made a big stink. I exposed it, saying y'all should not be doing this. And they took the names off the poster, and they reassured everyone that everything would be modest and family friendly. And I was like, okay, that's a step in the right direction. You took the names off the poster, and you have reassured us that your performances will be appropriate. Video came out of the performances with children in the front row, and it was the most inappropriate things you could possibly imagine. This drag queen in a super tight, tiny mini skirt doing a death drop, landing on their back, spread eagle with little kids in front of the performer. And it just enrages me when I see that, because if all of these shows had been funny and they weren't pushing LGBTQ trans agendas, and it was just like a sideshow at a state fair or something like that, nobody would have a problem with this. So they've essentially ruined the whole world of drag. And yes, drag has always been traditionally fairly raunchy, fairly tongue-in-cheek, but it's also traditionally been in nightclubs. So if you want to bring it into mainstream culture, you need to, especially if there's kids involved, you need to do it in a way that is appropriate. And they have not done that. And I think they've ruined it forever. I really do.
I kind of hope that they don't, because I have been to some great places where they have had some great performances, very tasteful. I think I did see an Aretha Franklin or maybe a Whitney Houston performer. It was wonderful, you know.
Yeah.
And but I mean, if you I see people that are these parents are like defending that type of drag, but they won't take them to a burlesque show. So if you won't take your child to a burlesque show because it's actual natural born women dancing half naked, why would you take them to a drag show that's the same? And I just see a lot of hypocrisy in it, and it bothers me on how we think. But we got about 5 minutes left. So I would love for you to be able to tell everybody not only where they can find you, but maybe some advice to anybody that's coming up in this mess of a swamp that we're stuck inside of, and give them some hope that everything's going to be okay.
Well, I don't know if everything's going to be okay, but I do know that if you want to live with yourself and maintain your self-respect, you got to speak out. The reason there is hope in this movement is because, quite frankly, there is a divorce. Common sense gay people are speaking out. And I hope to continue to show the world that drag artistry and costumes and wigs can be fun, it can be glamorous, it can be uplifting, it can be hilarious, and it can be magical because you're an actor, you're portraying a character. It's a lot of fun. So I just hope that more and more dignified artists come out of the closet and say, you know, I had a former performer who was in a show with me contact me, and I thought that he hated me, and he said, I completely agree with everything you're doing. And I was like, wow. You know, so I would say the majority of gay and lesbian people are not cool being erased. And I would also, I mean, you'd be able to speak on this, but I don't think intersex people feel like they are supposed to be lumped in, just like asexual people. I'm like, asexual means you're not interested in sex. So why are you attached to the LGBTQIA plus? See, that it's about recruitment and it's about cultural domination. So I feel like I hardly let you talk and this went so fast, but I think we hit the most important topics. People would like to follow me, they can just my primary platform is Facebook, Lady MAGA USA. Twitter is Lady MAGA USA. YouTube is Lady MAGA USA. My website is ladymagausa.com. The only one that's different is my Instagram. It's LMUSA1776, because this is my third account. You know, I get kicked off. And I was on TikTok for one day, made a video, and they permanently banned me. And all I said was, a biological man can never become a biological woman. It wasn't even like a controversial video. So people can find me, they can follow me. And you know, follow Emma, share her story. And if you are a gay or lesbian person listening to this, come out of the closet. You know, you can do it. You can just gently. One thing I love about you, Emma, is your loving approach to this. The dividing, like, I love Matt Walsh, but his us versus them narrative is pretty extreme.
Yeah.
He called me an embarrassment for wearing my beautiful costume at CPAC, an adult political conference. So he's come after me. So we can't villainize the people who disagree with us. We have to try and have conversations with them. And it never happens because, you know, we do have facts on the other side, and they have emotional elements, but we could still try and make it a little bit less us versus them. I went to Pride to do interviews. The majority of the people there were not pedophilic monsters. They were just people walking around, nice people, and I interviewed them. And so going forward, I don't want to produce clickbait. I want to have real conversations. And, you know, I'm not going to stop doing what I love to do because of the bad eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's basically it. That was a very long answer.
It's perfectly okay. I love it. And this is one of the reasons why I've fallen in love with you and your work and stuff like that. And I like to consider you a friend myself. And I think together and with many other people, hopefully finding some truth and some way of opening up their mouths, that they will continue to speak out against this. Because if the LGBTQ doesn't attack or at least call out the wrong, it's going to be blanketed to everybody. And so I think that this is a much bigger mission than I think we've ever decided it would be. So I am really thankful for that.
They've set us back. They've set us back 30 years.
Yeah.
People are afraid of gay people now.
Yeah. It did. It did.
People are going to be, they're afraid of drag queens. It did. But that's why hopefully we can sort of reclaim some of it thanks to people like you. And I want to have you on my podcast 100% because I've been answering questions and all I want to do is ask you questions. So we'll do the reverse once I get it.
Love it. I would absolutely love to be on your show. But we got less than 30 seconds. So everybody, Lady MAGA, give her a big old hand and thank you for being on my show here. And I will see you guys again next time. So stay safe, love and hug everybody that you love and friends, family, because you don't know if that will be the last time. We never guaranteed tomorrow. So until then, guys, bye.
Like, OMG, you were on TV and junk.